All right. Hello and welcome to Day One Patch Podcast, episode 550. That's a nice number, right?
No, I don't like it.
Looks visually appealing on the layout document here.
Okay.
Well, Happy New Year, guys.
First 2026 episode. Hey.
Hope you guys had a good holiday. I got Tim Spence here with me. How's it going,
right there
Tim?
in the room? Oh.
I mean, you're right over there.
Doing all right, yeah.
Matt? I got Matt here with me. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, yeah.
You're also in the room. I'm looking over at you. It's kind of like The Shining.
Wait, what am I doing? Just like sitting there being like, Red Rum.
No, that's not what I'm referencing, but that's all right.
I don't know what you're referencing at all.
Well, I guess you guys can't see me looking through like a doorway, and I live in a hotel.
Like a mob boss? You're hiding out from the cops?
Yeah, that's a great way to word that.
Yeah.
I live in a hotel.
I live in a former hotel.
So you don't live in a hotel?
Well, it's still hotel shaped.
Same.
Was it the shape of an H? Like what?
No, my biggest problem with this place is huge, first of all. I mean, you guys have been here. But the rooms are very much laid out for hotel rooms.
Central hallways and then rooms off that hallway.
Which is kind of normal for like an older style home. But I have these weird rooms before bedrooms. And I don't know what to do with those rooms. And my bathrooms are overly small for the size of the house.
Many small bathrooms.
Yeah. And it's just like the house, if I could, the whole first floor needs to be renovated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like completely demolish all the walls and a new design needs to be planned out.
Yeah. Because like I guess when it was built, the intention is like there's like a front sitting room, like some sort of lounge area or common space, and then a bedroom.
Well, there used to be like a double bed in that first room. So we called those suites. And so the first room you enter, there'd be a double bed and then a queen bed in the other room.
So I
don't know what to do those rooms now.
That double bed wasn't in the main like entranceway though.
Okay, so Matt, you know when you walk into my house and you turn left into the room where it's like my cat room basically right now.
Yeah.
Where the washroom is. That room used to have the double bed in it.
Okay. I thought you were like walking into someone's bedroom, like right away.
No. And then you'd walk through the French doors, and then there'd be like the main bed that was a queen.
Okay.
Which is now my living room in that one room.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, did you guys have a good holiday?
Yeah.
It was some gaming done.
Sort of. Honestly, didn't really do too much when for work is a lot of gaming, and then you go and you're visiting family and stuff, or you're like doing your days are pretty full, right? Like you get home and I'm like, I'm too tired to play anything.
Yeah, it's YouTube time at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did the same, I'd say. I wanted to like try to complete a game though, so I went with a low-hanging fruit and I completed Call of Duty Infinite Warfare campaign. Like I only had a couple of levels left and I was like, what game am I gonna seal the year off with? And that's what I did. So
all right, that's fair. Why don't we start with video game fun facts, Matt? That's where we normally start.
Yeah, let's do it.
You got a good one to kick off 2026, right?
Yeah, so this one, at least I like it. So I did a bunch of research on Yu-Gi-Oh games. I've been doing a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, and that's exactly why I think it's an all right one. So I've really summarized it down because I did a bunch of research, and there are approximately 59 Yu-Gi-Oh games. And so I was like, okay,
wow.
I need like charts and graphs and a whole bunch of that jazz. There's even like kind of spin-offs, not spin-offs, which we'll get into. And so what I did was I kind of did like a by the eras, but like kind of like a greatest hits point form list and notes that we can discuss. So we'll kick it off with this thing because this is weird. It's not a spin-off, but I'm kind of calling it a spin-off. The origin, the very first Yu-Gi-Oh game, wasn't even a card game. It was in 1998, and it was called Monster Capsule Breed and Battle. This was a monster raising board game style strategy game. The card game wasn't even fully locked in yet, and so Konami was still clearly figuring out what Yu-Gi-Oh was going to become, even though this game came out. And this is the very beginning, long time ago. But then we start getting into stuff that's a little more known to us, I guess you could say. And this is a bunch of games came out on handheld. Now, this is not a timeline, so if you're like, hey, this one came out on NES or whatever, I'm just kind of doing the greatest hits here. So Yu-Gi-Oh starts really exploding, and it makes sense because it is a card game primarily, on portable consoles. And at the time, those, of course, are handhelds, namely the Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy Advance. So out of the roughly 59 official Yu-Gi-Oh games, a massive chunk of these are actually handheld. And these games shaped how people learned Yu-Gi-Oh! And sometimes those sometimes those experiences were accurate, and sometimes those experiences were not. Now, there's one example, and this is not on handheld, but in the not category, there's a game called Forbidden Memories, and this is on the PlayStation 1. This was really, really difficult, really, really brutal difficulty. There were trial and error fusions, which was really weird, and it barely followed the rules. And so it's not like you could like play, a collection of these early games and be like, yeah, like now I know how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! In person. Let me get my cards and go play it. It's kind of like, kind of wishy-washy. But we have the first breakout hit, and this was on the Game Boy Advance GBA, and this is the one that I remember. This is from 2001. It is the first faithful digital versions of the real card game, Yu-Gi-Oh! The Eternal Duelist Soul. Had about 800 cards in its collection of cards. It followed the proper rules, and I mean, I would assume due to this, at least it did for me, it sold a heck of a lot. It sold around 1.7 million copies worldwide. Now,
Wait, what do you mean it did due to you?
I wanted this game because it was the game. Like, it was, I used to play the physical game as a kid. And then
I thought you bought 5 million copies of it.
No. 1.7 million copies sold worldwide.
And what was it on? Was that the Game Boy Advance one?
Game Boy Advance, that's right.
Yeah, hell yeah, I know that one.
It came with three different promo cards as well. They include Exchange, I think it's Skull Dice, Skull Dice, and then also Graceful Dice. And they're a prismatic secret rare. All three of them are. And they're really, really holographic and shiny, and they kind of have a pattern and stuff, and that was pretty cool. So you got like 3 physical cards with the game. And I also remember being able to just go to my Yu-Gi-Oh card collection, because in the game you can face the duelists. Every time you beat them, you get a booster pack, and you're supposed to build up your cards. You can't just go right to the end, because Pegasus or whoever will like kick your ass. So you have to like keep building your cards up, building your deck up, building your skill up. But if you had physical cards, there's a little sort of serial number or identifier number in the bottom. You could actually just go in and like type in that code, and you could actually get those cards. And so, my friends and I, a couple of us had the game. I think you could actually trade, but we never did that. We would just like literally give each other the serial numbers on the bottom of our cards, and we would get the cards and build the decks and do that. Never beat this game, but it was a heck of a lot of fun. I definitely played Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of at a surface level. Like, I never realized how complex the game could get. I got to like the third page of Duelists, and it took me forever. There's like crazy sort of milestones of this game where it's like, oh, beat this guy like 100 times and beat this guy like 40 times and stuff. And it's like 40 duels with one of these duelists, because each page is 5 duelists, I believe. And so it's like, man, doing the first 3 pages, that's 15 duels. You have to beat every person. I think it's at least once. This is just from memory now. I didn't research this. You have to beat each person at least once. Maybe it's like you have to beat them twice on the second page or something like that. But it's like, that's a lot of dueling. But this is definitely supposed to be like, it's a handheld game. You're just playing the card game, and you jump in at any time and go face like Yugi Moto or Yami Yugi or whomever you want to go and beat. Now, after this era, shortly after, unfortunately, this is the mid 2000s to early 2010s, we started getting kind of almost annual releases. So this era is home to the World Championship Series, the Tag Force Series, and the Tag Force Series. And, there's a ton of content, of course, a bunch of anime tie-ins, there's cards, there's modes. But unfortunately, the audience, with so much content kind of flying around, they stop buying. So the sales start to slow, the audience starts to fragment, and digital games, because some of them were just like straight up digital, started to shut down. So, for example, Duel Arena just fully shut down. Duel Generation was retired. Cross Duel was shut down in 2023. So, pretty recent, but still. And so then we got the true successor, which is what we have today. This is back in 2022, but it's still updated. It's kind of like, your classic games as a service, and it is Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Now, this is sort of a I'm going to call it a real successor to Eternal Duelist Soul, although I'm sure someone out there, loves another accurate Yu-Gi-Oh game out there. But this game is free to play, although Eternal Duelist Soul was not. But this is a free to play game, so tons of people can play it. Fully cross-platform, full competitive rule set, so it's very, very accurate. As of today, it's at 10 plus million downloads, and it's not an annual release like we saw in that 2000s to 2010 sort of era. This is a games as a service, just constantly updated. So it's approximately 4 years old, three-ish years old right now. And so the Yu-Gi-Oh games basically are known for this sort of like crazy history to kind of conclude things here. There's a lot of experimental Yu-Gi-Oh games where you can actually walk around as Yugi and the fans, or I guess not the fans, Yugi and the gang, I guess. They're very inconsistent with the rules and things like that, like I mentioned in that PS1 title. And the early peak saw the actual like, hey, Yu-Gi-Oh is starting to take off. We have a strict or whatever you want to call it rule set. Let's put that in a game. Eternal Duelist Soul comes out, and then you really start to see kind of Yu-Gi-Oh go. Now, fast forward to the year that's just passed really quickly, 2025, we actually have Konami releasing an early days collection, and this preserves 14 classic games from the Yu-Gi-Oh, kind of whatever, the franchise, the behemoth, the animes, the whole thing. And so you can pick that up on PC and Switch, I believe. And it also comes with a card. And I think you only get, so in the early Eternal Duelist Soul, you got all 3 of the promo cards. I believe Early Days Collection, you only get 1 of a collection of cards. But that's it. That's the sort of rough history of Yu-Gi-Oh games. Otherwise, I'd be talking for literally 2 episodes about 59 different titles. And that's it.
I didn't know there was that many. That was a shocker.
I knew that, like, because I actually picked up I got it for Christmas. Maybe I picked it up on Boxing Day. I don't know. This house is a logistics center right now because it's holidays. Early days collection. I have that. I haven't.
You bought that longer. You bought that long before Christmas.
Okay, so I must have bought it on. That must have been a Black Friday.
Because I bought it after you. Yeah, that's it. Black Friday.
Okay. So I haven't played it yet, but I have it. And I was like, man, that's quite a few games. Like, maybe I'll do my gaming fun facts on this 14 or 15 game collection. Maybe I'll do that. And because I remember there's some people saying like the first Game Boy game on there is like doesn't explain the rules or anything. It's just like, oh, okay, you're dead now. It's like, oh, like it didn't, no rules, no nothing. Just throw me in the deep end. So I was like, oh, it'll be kind of a cool thing. But yeah, 59 games is a little bit of a shocker. And I remember watching Mystic Ryan, who's a PlayStation YouTuber, actually. He was talking about the Yu-Gi-Oh games as an aside in one of his videos, and he's like, whenever I play a Yu-Gi-Oh game, I just like want to play the game. He's like, half those damn Yu-Gi-Oh games, you don't actually play the game. You're playing stupid dice, or you're walking around with the gang, or you're doing this shit. He's like, I want to play Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't want to play in the Yu-Gi-Oh universe. I want to play Yu-Gi-Oh. So fair enough.
The Yu-Gi-Oh.
But I mean, maybe they're trying to make it more like Pokemon, where it's like it wasn't just endless battles. It was you go around town, you do quests, you talk to people, and then you battle every now and then. Maybe,
and I hope that one of those 14 games in that classic game collection is actually one of them, because I would like to at least just try it, just for fun, just to see like what they were playing at back then.
It's another one of those scenarios though, where it's like it's. I mean, I don't. They probably shouldn't copy, but I was talking to you guys before that like Yu-Gi-Oh should copy the Pokemon app and make like a really cool Yu-Gi-Oh app. If they want to make a cool game, make it like a Pokemon game. You're a duelist and you're walking around town and people see you. They come running up and say, "Hey, you want to duel?" And then you duel, and then you have a storyline and a quest and villains and all that kind of jazz.
Well, let me ask you this, Ryan. So like, there's like a condensed rule set. So like, I played Master Duel recently. I did the tutorial. I was like, all right, cool. I did the first level of the story, because you do the story of each individual card of which they have a story written. Let me tell you, I was eviscerated at a pace that I wasn't aware was possible in Yu-Gi-Oh by the AI. So that was that. I was like, oh, okay. Like I learned how to do like fusion or something. Like, cool, let's do that. And I was like, okay. And it takes me a while because I'm like new to it. I'm like, okay, do I play the? Okay, yeah. Kind of like a toddler. And then this thing just came up and just like was like, nah, we're playing at the master level, and just pushed me over. But Duel Links, which I didn't mention here, but Duel Links is like a more condensed version. And that game is still relatively complex, but I don't fully understand the full differences, but it's supposed to be easier to get into. It's like faster duels. You can play against the AI. You're not walking around per se, but you're like clicking different parts of the city in the menus. This is a mobile game. And then you like could see an NPC and you can click on them and then duel them. So it's a little bit very loosely like that. It's like, because you and I played that for a bit. Like, do you prefer that, or would you actually want the full rule set? Because I feel like the full rule set now is so complex, I want to say, or at least the card combos and the decks are so complex, the strategies.
Well, that's always a thing. I was there at the start of Hearthstone and I was playing it and it was fine, but then they started adding new features and new rules and changing everything, and then I fell off. Same thing with Marvel Rivals. Or, no, what's the card game?
I never played
Marvel Rivals is like
Snap.
the Overwatch kind of game, right? Marvel Snap. I started that too, and it was fine. And then all these new metas come out and crap, and I was just like, I'm out. So I do want a simpler version, and that was what was nice about Duel Links.
Yeah, like I felt like I could play the old way for a while, and I still can against the NPCs. But then I went to go face some people, and let me tell you, they were doing a turn where it was like, because I have 3 dark magicians, I have a 4th one. And because I have a 4th one, I have an even number. So I divide the 2, but then multiply them by 2. But wait, in the graveyard, there's 4 things that have the word magician. So now I have 16. Now I have 16 dark magicians. They can all attack 17 times. I'm like, hang on, I got like 4,000 life points or whatever. Just shoot me. Like, just shoot me. Stop. Like, it's like I'm dead. Like, please.
That'd be amazing. This duel's over. Bang.
So yeah, it's so even that game, though it's condensed, I ended up just making a Dark Magician deck, and it's exactly like that. There's so many things that pop off, I don't even know what's happening. Half the time I'm like, oh yeah, like I get 4 more, sure.
But did you remember to divide by 16?
Thankfully the game would for me. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Matt. That was great.
And thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Tim.
What'd you do, Tim?
I just wanted to be a part of it.
Oh,
okay. Well, thank you, Tim.
That's okay. I already got thanked.
Okay, let's hop into our stories for the week. There is not going to be any Gen AI art in Divinity, says Baldur's Gate 3 studio Larian, who draws a line in the sand. This comes to us from Polygon. Larian Studios has taken the chance of a Reddit AMA to answer some of the most pressing questions from its fans concerning its upcoming game Divinity. Polygon reached out to Larian for clarification on the studio's generative AI usage. And how do you say this guy's name, Tim? Vink?
Sven Vinke.
Vinka. Provided a statement confirming that the studio was not releasing a game with any AI components, and that they were not looking at trimming down teams to replace them with AI. So yeah, he was asked like a question, and this was his response. He said, so first off, there's not going to be any Gen AI art in Divinity. I know there's been a lot of discussions about us using AI tools as part of the concept art exploration. We already said this doesn't mean the actual concept art is generated by AI, but we understand it created confusion. So to ensure there is no room for doubt, we've decided to refrain from using Gen AI tools during concept art development. That way there can be no discussion about the origin of the art. Having said that, we continuously try to improve the speed at which we can try things out. The more iterations we can do, the better in general the gameplay is. We think Gen AI can help with this, and so we're trying things out across departments. Our hope is that it can aid us to refine ideas faster, leading to a more focused development cycle, less waste, and ultimately a higher quality game. The important bit to note is that we will not generate, quote, creative assets that end up in-game without being 100% sure about the origins of the training data and the consent of those who created that data. If we use Gen AI model to create in-game assets, then it'll be trained on data we own.
That's a hell of a thing, right? Like, to say that we won't use any assets unless we can be 100% sure of their origins. So they're not going to use Google then, because you can't be 100% certain about the origins of anything on the internet. But
I was going to say too, like, I agree, because it's like he mentions, like, that last part sounds like it includes coding, but like the whole rest of the concept, he's talking about concept art, or the whole rest of the concept.
This is specifically within the context of concept art, because back when they did that like interview with Jason Schreier of Bloomberg, it was him saying specifically that they were going to use Gen AI references for the concept artists for them to then make concept art.
Okay.
And so where the sort of outrage stemmed from was people saying, like, if you're using generative AI to make images that your concept artists are then basing their art off of, you're still poisoning the well. Like, your supply is coming from generative AI, and like, whether you feel that way about it or not, it is interesting now that surely it is because of the backlash, because there was all of this, conversation around it after this interview came out. And because of that, Sven then went on to Twitter and did the whole, like, for fuck's sake, guys, we're not using Gen AI in our game, which just kind of made people more upset, because, or more like laughing at him, I guess, or something. I don't know what the general vibe was, but then they said afterwards, like, clearly this is like a hot button issue. People are sensitive about it. We want to talk about it. Like, we are always looking for ways to make our games more human, like involve more people in the process and get as many creative perspectives as possible in order to make the best game we possibly can. And that's always going to be our goal. We were just going to use Gen AI as like a tool and not to like cut any corners or to have anything in the final product be generative AI like made. But we understand what everyone's saying. We want to do an AMA about this. And so this is the one that happened, of course. So it's interesting to see now that they're just like, all right, like, this is clearly an issue for you guys. Like, you don't want us to do it. We're not going to do it, which I think is probably the best move on their part. Like, from an optics perspective, from a business, like, sales perspective. Because, like, I knew a lot of people that were like, damn, Baldur's Gate 3 was my favorite game. But if they're going to use Gen AI in the process of making Divinity, I guess I'm out. Like, it was just that cut and dry. So this will maybe secure some of those sales again. Because at the end of the day, right, you have to remember, like, yeah, Larian is the company that made Baldur's Gate 3, and people really liked Larian, and Larian had a lot of great, reputation and goodwill in the games industry. Sven repeatedly going on stage at public events and calling out the rest of the AAA industry and being like, you guys need to stop being concerned about bottom line profits and be more concerned about, like, your teams and making a good game. And that's what will net you Game of the Year kind of thing. And so people found it a little bit hypocritical, I guess, maybe, for them to go out and say, we're going to start using Gen AI tools to sort of like streamline our processes. And it's like, streamline our processes is a phrase that CEOs who are concerned with the bottom line say. And I don't personally lump Sven in with the rest of a lot of like tech CEOs, video game company CEOs, because I do genuinely believe that he is a creative first, and that, like, yeah, he and his wife own Larian, but like, or majority stakeholders in Larian, but and it is a business. Like, the point of Larian is to make a product that sells and makes money and generates a profit for them. But I think that he knows what he's talking about when it comes to the game's design process and what it means to make games from an artistic perspective and not from a technical or business perspective.
It's something too where, oh, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I find it interesting. I find it interesting that, like, so I'm just like reading through here, like you said, Tim, it's just about the concept art, which I agree with, like, having reread the statement again after Ryan did, and your explanation. But it's just, I find it interesting that, like, a lot of people don't seem to be questioning, or maybe there's like further statements after this or something about like whether or not they're going to use it in the coding, unless no one cares about the coding. It's the technical backend and no one cares about that. I find that to be interesting.
I think that the biggest problem people do have with AI is the, quote unquote theft of intellectual property in terms of stealing artwork from artists, right? That does seem to be where people are kind of most angry at it. I know people in general just have misgivings about AI, but that does seem to be like the one red line that people don't want AI to cross is its ability to take, work away from artists.
Well, it does the coding aspect, like coders are like getting laid off. Because of Gen AI, and the Gen AI learned off like the backs of like written guides and things that were IP or maybe still are or whatever.
I mean, of
like people who have like coded up stuff. And so like I'm not saying that like they should be using it in the concept art. I'm just curious, or I just find it interesting that it wasn't like a blanket statement, as in like we're not using it at all. I just find that kind of interesting because it's kind of like, the coding is a part of it. Like I understand it's the background of it. And like they were saying they weren't going to trim down their teams and stuff. So I'm not saying that Larian's going to lay people off, but at the same time, they are saying that, that little bit about, the origins of the training data. It's like, do they know what their coders are doing? Like their coders can go to ChatGPT and be like, make this guy's arm move in this engine. And then like, where did the AI learn that guide? But do they care about that? Like, it's going to be harder to prove because code is like some code is going to be repeatable. Yeah, code's totally copyrightable. Some people consider it an art form. I know some people don't. Whatever. I don't really get into all that. But I just find it interesting that it's like something that it's like art is the hill to die on, not its entirety. I just find that interesting.
Like, here's the thing, right? Is that Larian, I think, to an extent, kind of uncorked the bottle a little bit in the industry, talking about how like they were just being transparent, and they were saying like, yeah, we've like some of our team members have used Gen AI to kind of look at things and get some different perspectives and just see like what sorts of things like spark inspiration in their brain, the same way we would use Google image search and stuff if we're looking for certain things. Like we've used generative tools, and I don't think that they thought that was going to be so there was going to be such a dramatic response to that. What I think this has done for the industry is now, and then like CD Projekt Red has done it too, and said that they were using Gen AI for like Witcher stuff and that, and other projects and things. And so a lot of people are realizing like, oh wait, like these AAA companies are using generative AI in games, so I guess we'll just not support them and we'll just, support other companies or go indie and that sort of thing. With Larian coming out and saying that they were doing it in CD Projekt Red, and then people having this huge reaction to it, what this has taught companies is if you are honest about Gen AI, it's only a bad look for you. So you have no incentive to be transparent about it. Make no mistake, I would go so far as to say every major company in game development is using generative AI in some capacity. I guarantee it. I guarantee they are. Because like Sven kind of touched on in that first Bloomberg interview, if you don't try to use new technology in a way, like the technology that just exists, and like we've talked before about how it's kind of a technology that's a solution looking for a problem, be that as it may, if you aren't trying to use these tools, you will like, quote, get left behind, right? That's what Sven said. And whether you agree with that or not, it's like, every major company is going to be looking at these tools and trying to see what they can do with it. Not necessarily to like trim things down and like be able to replace staff and fire people and make teams smaller if they can save more money, but just like, can we streamline our processes in some way by using it? And so all of this like backlash is really only showing that like people are not going to be happy if they hear that Gen AI is being used in the production of a video game. So companies have no reason to be transparent about it anymore. Guaranteed, they're all using it. They're just not going to tell you now.
It's almost too hot button an issue to even bring up. It's like, it'd be like saying I was on Google and I like Googled how to do this thing. And if someone were to ask you like, well, did you click on, the Stack Overflow link or like a guide from another developer, or did you read the AI overview? If you say AI overview, it's like, oh, that's it. Like, it's almost like, the interview's over, like you're a piece of shit kind of thing. Like, it's almost like it's too hot button an issue to discuss.
I don't know that it's that extreme. Like, I think most people that are willing to have a conversation about it, like, will. But yeah, that being said, like, it is controversial, but it is what the situation is right now. So like people definitely are going to have a lot of feelings about it. But I think that it does. I think that it should be talked about, like it's what's going on right now, and people can have a lot of different perspectives on it.
It's one of the first times that I can think of. It's like in my mind anyway, it's like the internet really shook things up, right? Obviously the internet really started shaking things up, where it's like it touches so many industries. It's not just, hey, we can have information websites. It's like, hey, we can completely revolutionize, selling things online. And what would be in the antique industry? It's like now things that are rare because you just have to go into like barns to find them or whatever. Now it's like every barn can be online and they're all selling that same can or whatever it is. And that's just one example, but there's so many examples the internet touched. I feel like cloud computing kind of silently was that, but it was almost like an internet 2.0 where it was almost like just an upgrade or just changes, I suppose, to what we had. And I feel like this might be the second, at most third big thing, at least in our lifetime, where this is like a really big shakeup. Like this is a big deal where it's like effectively like democratizing skills that people spent like thousands of hours learning.
Like yes and no, like I said, right? Like you cannot, like a computer cannot be creative. It can only regurgitate. It depends on what goal you're trying to achieve, right? Like the controversy but at large that people have, I think, with generative AI when it comes to like the fear of it replacing jobs is not so much that people are concerned that, that computers are going to, be the only way that you can make art anymore or whatever, right? It's not so much that. It's more the, like, there is a difference between AI tools being used to do like tedious or menial technical tasks more quickly and efficiently than a human could do them versus using these tools to replace creativity. Because like I said, a computer cannot be creative. It can only regurgitate. And people say like, oh, but there's machine learning. And it's like, yeah, but that's machine learning is a sequence by which computers learn how to, like, quote, very loosely using the word learn, to achieve a technical task based
like
on
pattern recognition
based on user input saying like, yes, you did this right. No, that's wrong. Try again.
Right.
So like, in my eyes, the biggest controversy comes down to people being like, there's a lot of people that are creative people, and there are a lot of people who view the creative part of like video game design as not important. Like the people that view making video games as just a technical task that has no art or emotional meaning behind it. It's just a thing that you do to make a game, to sell it, to make money. Like there's two crowds that are involved, right, in this conversation. It's the ones that care about art and those that don't. And the ones that care about art are the ones saying, like, we can't have a computer do the creative work. You just simply can't do it. And the people that are like, that you could allege are trying to do that, like trying to brute force creativity with Gen AI, are like, well, the art doesn't matter, and so I'll just make the computer do it.
Right.
Which I think is where a lot of the like disconnect in the conversation is between the people who would be like pro Gen AI in the process and those that would be against, is that it all comes down to like that point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I feel like Gen AI is one of those things where it generates the most generic. Like, I like help people sometimes at work with like, oh, they need like a blog post written. It's not my specialty, but I can help them out with it. I've seen enough of them, and I'll help them with like the SEO at like a small business level with it. And, you can go to the AI and say, like, give me an SEO, friendly article or the best SEO. It's literally going to like look at, roughly speaking, it's going to look at the blog post that say the best SEO tips, and it's going to like regurgitate. It's not going to be like a human, where like a human might look at that, and if it's on some sketchy site, or look at the date and be like, oh my God, like this is old as hell. There's no like thought process there. So like, it doesn't
reason.
It doesn't like it. I mean, they call it reasoning now, right? Reasoning models and things like that. But it's like, it's machine reasoning. It's not the same reasoning that we have. Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, all that being said, it's cool. It's interesting that Larian is now saying like, we're just not going to use it at all for Divinity, in terms, although he does specifically say for the concept art portion, and then said like, there's nothing in the game that will be generative AI, which is not any different from what he said in the beginning. In that first interview, he said, where it's the only like Gen AI part is going to be references that the concept artist might use. So I don't know. I guess he's just said that part's not going to happen anymore. So will Gen AI be involved in the production of the new Divinity game in any way, shape, or form?
More than likely.
At this point, if it is, we'll have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
But they've said no.
You know what's interesting though is them saying they're going to train their models on their own data. I don't know how much of a data set that is.
Yeah, that sounds
like
cyclical and useless.
Yeah, but so it's like, okay, we have our own art assets and we're going to put it into this AI and then it's going to just churn out the same art assets? Like, or is it going to make those and combine them and make something new? But I don't know.
The only thing I could think of, but like then again, the art comment's been made, but the only thing I could think of is if you said, all right, this AI, I'm going to train it on Baldur's Gate 3. And then if I say, hey, make a helmet that looks like it's from Baldur's Gate 3, if you tell it that in a generic sense, it'll look up like fan art and, all kinds of things from the internet or like, any other game that was kind of like Baldur's Gate 3 and things like that. It'll like pull in all these like sort of like references. Whereas I suppose it would only pull from Baldur's Gate 3 then. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a game developer, so this might be partially incorrect, but I was watching a video and they were explaining one thing that was kind of interesting for the game Arc Raiders. One of the things they did is their enemy movement is really unique. It's very realistic. It's not like the bot is like the AI is like moving, meaning the NPCs they're moving in a very realistic way. And one of the things they did to train them was they gave it like some sort of Gen AI and they trained the AI by putting treats in the map and told the AI, go get it, but didn't tell the AI how to move. It didn't say you have arms and legs. It was like, go get it. And the AI had to like learn like, oh, I can use my legs and I can kind of like, jank around the environment. I can kind of like swim. So like, like a spider might be like weirdly swimming to be like, oh, that's inefficient. Maybe I could stand up and it would like do all this by itself. And then they said they took that model or that thing that they did. And if any of the movements looked really bad, they would kind of like correct it. Like an artist would come in and correct it. But it resulted in
classic
like
machine learning stuff.
Yeah, more or less. But it did result in like really interesting moving NPCs. It's pretty cool. You know how like if you have like a spider in a game, like let's say it's like a robot spider and it walks across the environment and it's like human animated. So the human animator isn't going to like animate every position of every like elevation or whatever. So when it runs up like, let's say stairs, it might look like it's running up a flat surface, even though it's running up stairs. That's not what these games look like. And of course it's Arc Raiders. It's like a wasteland. So it's like really bumpy and like really not sort of like flat. And so you get like really cool looking, I think they're really cool looking like animations and stuff. It's pretty neat.
All right, let's move on to our next story. Former PlayStation executive says Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo must learn from VHS's victory over Betamax if they want to truly expand the console audience. This is from IGN, but he was speaking on the Pause for Thought and Naomi Kyle YouTube podcast, where Shawn Layden, the former boss of Sony Interactive Entertainment America, said that the console video game market has hit a limit and a significant change is needed to expand beyond it. He talked about how like console sales have only ever really peaked at about 250 million, and they haven't really grown past that.
Only.
And I think we've kind of talked about that a few other times. Shawn Layden's kind of been on this like since like forever, really. But he said, quote, Betamax lost to VHS for one reason only, that VHS licensed its format across many different manufacturers. Sony held the unique Betamax patent trademark and everything. There was a license we did with Toshiba towards the end of the life cycle, but it never went wide like VHS. People didn't understand that need of having the same machine as your neighbor. You can have you can have an RCA TV and you can have a Sony TV, and that's all fine. But once your neighbor has picked VHS and you want to watch a tape of that movie, but you have Betamax, all of a sudden, so the industry coalesced around VHS. Then later on, Sony and Philips created the Compact Disc Consortium. They created the patent and they licensed it out to all other manufacturers. Same thing happened with DVD. Same thing happened with Blu-ray. They said that we'll compete on the device. So if you buy a Bang & Olufsen Blu-ray player, it's going to cost you more than a Sanyo version, even though they'll both support the platform, but they'll have different bells and whistles. I think we need to get in a world where we have a gaming format Maybe it just comes from PC. Maybe we find a way to do it all in a Linux kernel or something. And then we have a consortium around that. We have licensing programs which allow other manufacturers to build into that space. And then you can talk about the real numbers moving. That's how you get to a ubiquity of the toaster. But right now, I think we're trapped in this containment field. Sorry, that was a lot. Just to say, he thinks there has to be competition on the device, but not competition on whether the software is locked to that device. Thoughts?
For gaming specifically, right? So like,
Yeah.
in the hardware sense, to what end? Just that no company gets left in the dust? Like, what would be the end goal of this?
Expanding gaming beyond that 250 million cap he was talking about.
Consoles specifically, right?
Consoles, yeah.
I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, video games are just an entertainment medium. Like, that's like saying, like, we need to figure out a way to get more people to the movies or the more people into reading books, right? Like, it's okay. Why do you say that? Because he just wants to make more money. That's it. So, like, you can put all of the money into where you can make video gaming the most accessible possible thing you could physically do. But if people aren't interested in playing video games, then they're not going to do it. Like, it's a subjective choice of entertainment. Like, there's lots of people that, and of course there are people who, like, they think that they wouldn't like video games because, oh, that's nerd shit or whatever, and then they try it or they find the right game and they're like, oh no, playing video game is pretty cool actually. Like, there will be that crowd, but there is also the crowd of, like,
Yeah.
people just are like, okay, like, it's, fine every once in a while or whatever, the same way that I would watch a movie every once in a while, but I have other more practical things that I need or want to be doing. And kind of the thing about video games where they make all their money is, like, all the biggest video games that make the most money are because people kind of get addicted to them and play one game for a very long amount of time and put all of their, like, expendable income into one game. So, like, it to me, it sounds like you're looking for an impossibility. You're looking for something that's not feasible in the real world, just for the purposes of making more money off of people that theoretically could never be interested in your product to begin with.
I find his example weird, where he talks about how, oh, my neighbor has this movie I want to watch on VHS, but I have a Betamax player. I can't play that, and so now I don't like Betamax or something. But that's not really the scenario we have with games. The problem isn't that people can't share games, really, right?
Well, I think
I
he's
don't think
talking.
I don't think that's the root cause of why people aren't buying consoles, though.
No, like, I think it leans on what Tim said. Like, I think, well, like, to go back to Shawn Layden for a second, like, I think he's kind of saying, like, hey, there's 250 million of us on this planet that, like, are willing to buy consoles. If we want, we're not talking about having the Xbox people, which let's just say is 100 million, and the PlayStation people, which let's just say is 100 million. We don't want them both to, like, just be able to play all the games. He's talking, we need to expand beyond this group of people that have already bought a console.
Yeah.
And so, like, back to what Tim said is like somebody who's, like, a huge boat enthusiast or car person or, like, whatever, is a carpenter, doesn't matter. I mean, they're not into gaming enough to be like, man, like, it really sucks that I just can't play any Halo game on a PlayStation. So therefore I'm not gonna, like, they're not into it enough to say that yet. And then if they do the research, it's like, what's the percentage of games that are third party that are all over the place, that are across both consoles? Like, I would say the majority of the games that I play personally are third party. Like, I play barely any first party PlayStation games, even though I do have a PlayStation, right? I think he's wrong here. I think that if you want it to expand, that's not the solution. I think the solution has to be something else. I don't know what that thing is, but
I mean, Matt, we've been talking about the Xbox stuff and the Xbox PC stuff and all that crap. But I think to the industry, they see the barrier to entry being the problem as to why more people aren't gaming. And that's why I think they're doing streaming services. I think that's why they're partnering with TV manufacturers to get those streaming services onto those TVs. You have the Samsung gaming portal or whatever. My LG TV has a gaming thing on it. You can download the NVIDIA GeForce Now app on there. And so I think they're thinking that if we can just get it into people's hands as easily as possible, so that they don't have to go buy a 600, $700,000 box, you know,
607,000,
that they
600, 700,000.
no, 600, 700, or a thousand
Okay.
dollar box, then people will game more. And I don't know if the barrier to entry is the problem. Maybe it is. I don't, but it just doesn't feel like it is because like a console is very simple. You buy a console, you buy a game, you're playing that night. You know, I don't know
Yeah.
why there's some barrier. It's the same thing. Oh, I want to watch movies. You buy a Blu-ray player, you buy a Blu-ray, you're watching a movie that night. You know what I mean?
Why aren't the console games that are released on mobile taking off
That's a
with
good
his
question, too.
logic? Because I mean, everybody quote unquote has a phone. So why BioShock was released back in the day. I mean, okay, maybe that's too early, but we got Death Stranding now. We got Assassin's Creed Mirage. There's other examples. Wouldn't people be going nuts like, oh my God, I just couldn't afford or I didn't want to buy a console. And finally on my iPhone or my Android, I can play, enter in title here. Why isn't that the case? I wonder if other industries have this problem where are there like, I don't even know how the heck you'd measure this, but are there like car enthusiasts where they're like, we got approximately 150 million car enthusiasts and that number better go up, next year. Like, are there other industries like this? I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess
Well,
people going to the theater, like, cause they're complaining that they're not doing well, or at least they were. I don't know if they still are, but
it does. You're right. It kind of does seem to be primarily a entertainment medium kind of thing.
like, yeah. Cause like, does Milwaukee worry about how many, we got 800,000 contractors using Milwaukee drills. We better get 900,000 next year.
Speaking to the VHS Betamax thing, they should all be using the same goddamn battery. That's for damn sure. Now, maybe that needs to be a regulation or a law or something, but it's crazy that they can have all different batteries.
Well, I will also say though, with tools, to be fair, there are various degrees of tools. Like for example, millwright tools are not even really, shown to the public. Like, you can find them in the store, but they're not what's advertised to us. Like, they're not using regular drills. Like they'll like my dad, who was a millwright, he had, has a freaking wrench almost the size of me, almost the height of me. And it's like, like that's used to like, put on bolts or remove bolts or whatever it is from machines that are, triple the size of us at least. And so that's a totally different thing. So I will say, like, someone who uses Ryobi versus someone who uses Milwaukee, like, maybe there's a difference there. I'm not a tool guy, but like, it's a different, you know what I mean? It's like maybe one's more for contractors and one's more for home people. I don't have that information, but it's just an estimate.
Here's what you do. You choose the color you like. That's how you choose your tools.
Yeah, kind of.
So you're Milwaukee. You like red. You buy the Milwaukee stuff.
I'm pretty sure Ryobi is cheaper. I like money too. So
I don't. I became a DeWalt guy, not through any research or looking at reviews or anything. Someone I followed on Instagram was a DeWalt partner, and I was like, all right, I'm going DeWalt.
Mike Holmes.
So,
You got it.
it wasn't Mike Holmes directly. It was I can't remember her name. She's on like a bunch of those episodes and stuff of Mike Holmes. I think her name was Kate.
Isn't that her? Isn't that his
something like
daughter?
No. But anyway, she was like a DeWalt partner on Instagram. And I was like, all right, I'm going DeWalt, I guess. So yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, he knows more about the ins and outs of the industry than we do. So maybe he's speaking, maybe there's probably a lot of talk about this going on, right? About how to expand the horizon of who's a gamer. Because like when they do like those surveys of like who's a gamer, there is quite a few people who game but don't consider themselves a gamer. They're playing games on their phones and stuff, but they would never say they're a gamer. But
Like,
you're right. It's
that's
like
probably
all
like
it takes is
Halo.
all it takes is that one. It's like people who say they're not a reader. It's like, well, you just haven't found the right book. I do think that is true because like things can hook you, right?
Yeah, but there's a difference between like casually enjoying a thing that hooked you, but not identifying as a person that has that as like a major hobby.
Well, it almost seems like everyone though watches movies or TV shows. Like it's got to be like 80% of the people watch movies or TV shows, right?
TV shows at the very least, like even if you're not a fan of a particular, like if we're talking about Fallout and someone in the room doesn't watch that, they've likely heard of it too. It's like it seems like a pretty high chance. But if we're talking about like, the latest Halo, and a person's not a video game player, they'd be like, "What?"
Sure, but I just mean people do it. People like, most I think most people probably watch movies or watch TV shows
I would say
as one of the most primary forms of entertainment.
I
So,
agree
but
with
is that just because it's so passive
Accessible?
and you sit down and you watch? But a game takes some bit of skill, not a whole heck of a lot if you wanted to get into it. There's story mode games now and stuff, um, but it's not. Movies aren't interactive, and you can just sit there and enjoy it. Or a game is like you have to go play it.
Is it because we were, I would say, one of the lowest lowest barrier to entry of a screen is like watching TV, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and we're surrounded by screens now. Like this question would be interesting. Like it would be interesting to ask this question of a generation of people that did not grow up with screens. Like, do they not rely on the TV as much because they just never grew up around it?
Yeah.
Because like we're not like we aren't iPad kids, but now there are iPad kids. Like, and we're not iPad kids because we couldn't have been them. iPads weren't around.
Oh, geez, I just had a thought in my head.
Better than the alternative.
I was gonna say, where else would you think about it?
What is the negative consequence? Like Tim, you brought up that they mostly want it to expand because they want more money.
Sure.
But what is the negative consequence of them not expanding? Are these budgets going to balloon to the point where they're no longer profitable? You have major layoffs and game devs collapsing. Publishers start going out of business. Is it going to hurt gaming overall because they can't expand?
I guess I just have the question in my mind of like, when is enough enough? Like if gaming stayed at the point that it was right now for the rest of time, people would be able to continue living very lavish lifestyles off of working in the video games industry. That's not to say like everybody's making a killing, but like I just wonder like when is enough money, And it seems like that question is a fool's errand to even ask, because the kind of people who you're asking it to are the kind of people where enough is never enough.
Right.
And the goal is always to see how much more we can expand. So like if the games industry stayed the way that it is now in perpetuity, it probably wouldn't collapse. But it's a fair question, Ryan. Like if we do expand larger, there's got to be a point at which we've reached critical mass and we can't feasibly go anymore because there's just like not enough people making games, not enough people buying games, too much money is getting invested and it's not coming back. Like you say, publishers are going out of business. Like I don't know. It's this double-sided coin that I like see in my life now, where like I've always, not always, but I've enjoyed video games a lot. I would say it's been my primary hobby in my life ever since I was like 12 years old-ish, probably. And primarily, my favorite part about video games is like seeing the stories and the creativity and the artistry and the experiences that you can have with other people bonding over video games and that kind of thing. It's definitely not, business or money focused. It's like my priority with video games is the artistic side more than like the technical side necessarily, maybe, or the business side. That being said, with video games becoming so mainstream, like the number one entertainment medium, where they weren't before when we were younger, like these companies having more resources means bigger games, means more impressive, technical specs, means, the possibility of hiring more writers to write a more, compelling story, or just write, a larger quantity of good quality writing. But of course, like, the people who would prioritize the bottom line in these things are people that I have like, I am the antithesis of this belief style too, So it's like hitting that balance between I enjoy that when companies are larger and have more resources, they can tend to invest more into the creativity for games, and we can have these games that, maybe a company made a game that I really liked, but it wasn't as profitable as they thought it would be, and so it just never gets a sequel type of thing. Like, I would love to have a sequel to a game that I really like. I would always like to have more of the type of content that I enjoyed, right? So if they had more resources, then they could do it. But then on the flip side, it's like, if this company becomes super big, are they going to become the kind where they just don't care about the artistry and the product anymore, and it just becomes about
Always
the money?
happens.
It always seems to happen, right? So it's like, that's the double-edged sword.
All right, let's move on to our final story for the week. Fallout co-creator Tim Cain, not that Tim Cain, is out of semi-retirement and back at Obsidian. This is from PC Gamer. He's been in a state of kind of retirement in recent years, doing bits and pieces of content work for Obsidian, his former employer, and others, but generally contenting himself with his YouTube channel, where he chats about game design, career anecdotes, and how he's in semi-retirement now. Well, no longer. In his most recent video, Cain announced that he's moving back to California, gone back to full-time work at Obsidian, as an in-office, not remote worker, and the rest of my article is gone. I didn't paste the rest in there. Anyway, he told his viewers, "I'm back at Obsidian. I'm their full-time employee and in person, not remote. So I'm not a contractor anymore." But then when people were wondering what he's going to be working on, and he said, "Don't bother guessing. You're not going to guess."
Well, I'm going to guess.
Obviously,
I might just not get it right.
Well, the implication is it's not Fallout.
Yeah.
And I guess you could think it's Fallout, but I think Fallout is pretty much under the domain of Bethesda now, and would not be going back to Obsidian, right?
Obsidian, yeah.
I have a theory on this, though, based on another article. So there was a second article. So I read that first article you said, Ryan, and then a couple days later I saw this other one. And the quote is actually in the headline, so I'll just read it really quick. This is Tim Cain as well. "I'm over making other people really wealthy with my own creations." It says Fallout co-creator Tim Cain isn't interested in making a new IP or a sequel to one of his classic RPGs. At this point, he's exasperated, if I could say that word correctly, with the question. So my thought was, the Fallout show is out. The iron is hot. Bethesda's, I want to say fucking around, but they're not fucking around with Elder Scrolls. They're trying to get Elder Scrolls out the door. Microsoft is probably doing some toe tapping and is like, "Hey, we better get another Fallout game out there." There's all these rumors and stuff circling about Fallout 3 Remastered. I was talking to Marty about this the other night, and my thought was they brought Tim Cain in to finish writing the cut content of Fallout New Vegas. And we're going to get like an enhanced version / remaster in the same vein. Like, so like how Oblivion Remastered was made. We'll get that dual engine, sort of Unreal Engine, but Fallout New Vegas. But they need Tim Cain to come and write the new thing. This is not a new IP. It is not a sequel. And it's a weird thing to guess. Because it's like, what are you writing? I'm writing the real ends, the full ends to Fallout New Vegas. Because Fallout New Vegas, spoiler, I guess, but the end of the game ends in like a slideshow. Like, you make all these decisions, you choose a faction to go with, and let's say you go with the NCR, boom, you have your NCR slideshow effectively. And then there's a couple other things kind of scattered in there as you played the game. You were supposed to be able to play in that world afterwards, and we were not allowed to do that. My thought is maybe he's going to come, write, fix up if they still have the old writing, like quite literally, and like uncut the cut content, and we're going to get a definitive edition of Fallout New Vegas. Because here's the thing, if we, stick by the same timelines, like we got Oblivion Remastered, the rumor right now is we're about to get Fallout 3 Remastered, because obviously the show is out right now. This show, let's just say it reaches 5 seasons. Fallout 5 is not going to be out in that time. And so you're going to miss the hype train. But there's a lot of fans, of course, yelling and screaming about Fallout New Vegas, as there always is, because it's like it was a big, big RPG for the time. And one of the most favorites of the whole series. So my thought is, this is not a sequel. He's not writing a new IP. He's adding what was cut to one of the most beloved Fallout games, and then Obsidian's doing it again. That's my thought. Because Microsoft isn't stupid. They know if we release this thing when the iron's hot, it'll obviously release better. And so if we get Fallout 3 Remastered this year, it's not crazy to say by season 5 we'll have Fallout New Vegas Remastered.
I guess it depends. If he
this
says,
is a theory. Just a theory.
But if he says you're not going to guess, that highly implies it has nothing to do with Fallout, because you would be able to guess it if it
Yeah.
was something Fallout related.
But he's also not willing to write a new one. So it's not a new IP. It's not a sequel to to an IP that he's made. So what is it?
Wait, he said he's not working on a new IP?
I'm over making other people wealthy with my own creations. Tim Cain isn't interested in making a new IP or a sequel to one of his classic RPGs.
He said that about this current new employment at Obsidian.
January 3rd, 2026.
Wow.
This is PC Gamer. That's literally the headline is what I'm reading and kind of summarizing.
Yeah.
The headline's huge.
It's not a new IP, not a sequel.
So what would you guess? Would you guess it's got to be Fallout? Oh, okay. He's not writing a new one. What's he doing? He's remastering New Vegas. No, he's not. He's helping with the remaster, but he's writing the content.
But he said you wouldn't guess it.
I think that my guess is weird. No, but my guess is weird though. Like that's a pretty weird guess. But the reason why I even thought this is I watched a little mini documentary just on YouTube about Fallout New Vegas because I knew that it had like a rapid fire thing. And Tim, you told me a couple years ago about the 85 Metacritic thing and all that. So I was turned on like an hour and a half, whatever it was, to fall asleep to New Vegas documentary. And they were saying how a lot of the stuff had to be cut because obviously at time, but the Gamebryo engine kept crashing. They were having issues, this and that. They wanted the end to be like continually playable and they couldn't. They had a what do you call this? A companion that had so many lines of dialogue that the game kept crashing. They had RAM issues on PS3, all these things. And so there's a lot of cut stuff. And so to me, it's like, what would you put in there? I think you would go to your old IP. So he's not making a new IP. He's not making a sequel. He is writing effectively like a DLC for Fallout New Vegas, but one that it was already canon by the slideshow. Like he's filling in stuff. Maybe they're adding quests. Because here's the thing. Fallout 4 Anniversary was not received well. And for good freaking reason. It was a big pile of expensive shit, to be honest. And so it's like, well, let's take a fan favorite. Let's not mess with the canon. Let's enhance it, but not just technically enhance it like we did with Oblivion, although there are some extra quests in Oblivion. So we know that extra quests are good. We know that that's possible with the remaster that Bethesda likes to do, assuming they like to do it. They've only done it once, but you know what I mean? So we know that like, having extra quests and some unique content is possible. Well, wouldn't the fans of New Vegas want some new content? Wouldn't they like it remastered? Shouldn't you release it when the New Vegas show is on kind of thing? You know what I mean? When the Fallout show is on, wouldn't you strike while the iron's hot? You think Microsoft's like, don't worry, Todd. Don't worry, Todd. We'll release Fallout 5 after the show is over. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Todd. Just take your time. No, they're going to go, no.
That's kind of what happened with the first season. There wasn't really any Fallout content.
And they probably learned from that.
Alongside the first season.
Right, but they probably learned from that because Fallout 76 hopped on board. If this Fallout 3 rumor is true, then Fallout 3, and it's still a rumor, but if this Fallout 3 rumor is true, then the Fallout New Vegas is the next best thing because you're not going to be able to force a Fallout 5 out quickly. But what's the next piece of Fallout content you can get out quickly? New Vegas Remastered.
Saying you're not working on new IP or a sequel kind of really narrows it down to just one thing.
To an old game. And it is something you wouldn't guess. The people en masse would say Fallout New Vegas Remastered. That's kind of right, but maybe he's writing the new story that's going to be in it. Like the new DLC or that like cut content shit, like I said.
Yeah, but it's also weird that he's like, I'm not making money for anyone else anymore. But yeah, you are. You still are. You're working at a company and they're going to make all the money off of it. I don't know.
Well, he doesn't want to write the universe of Fallout and not
or make a new
benefits.
franchise. Make a new franchise for someone that they can run off with and be Bethesda.
It also just so happened Obsidian just released two massive games, Avowed and Outer Worlds 2. So they're kind of free. They're kind of available.
He's actually working on Avowed DLC.
That would be something nobody would guess.
Yeah.
Holy God. That's my theory.
Right.
That's my theory.
I mean, yeah, it's better than anything I can think of, Matt. So we're gonna have to go with it. You should bet Tim a Panzo on it.
Me?
Yeah, Tim. What's your thought on this? What's your thoughts on this?
I have no idea. I have no idea what he could be working on. I'm not locked in on Tim Cain, so like, would it be interesting to see more Fallout New Vegas content? Yeah, but I've played Fallout New Vegas so much, so many times that like I feel like the only thing that would be interesting for Fallout New Vegas content would, like you say, maybe be a post game, but I don't know if that would be enough to make me want to buy a remaster and play Fallout New Vegas again.
But like, would a few years be enough time? Like, I'm thinking this is 2-3 years because it's it's a remaster, so we say it's easy, but it ain't gonna be that easy.
As long as they make sure to rebuild it from the ground up.
Oh God!
Alrighty, that's the news for the week. Moving on to what we're playing. Tim, what have you been playing?
Primarily, honestly, kind of two things: just Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii and Divinity Original Sin 2, which I've been making some good headway in. It's a really good game. I might go so far as to say that I like it better than Baldur's Gate 3. Maybe I've said that on the podcast before, but I definitely
in the PlayStation party the other night. Then
I definitely prefer the combat, but the narrative of Baldur's Gate is way stronger for sure. Like, especially if you like an RPG where you BioWare style, you get into it with the characters, you forge the relationships, you learn their quirks, their ins and outs, romanceable characters, whatever. But yeah, it's I just like the sort of like the action point system overall in an RPG. I think I just like it better than D&D style combat. And I'm pretty sure Larian has said that or Sven himself has said that they're not doing like D&D style combat for the new Divinity game, that it is gonna be a system that I think he said something along the lines of like, it's something that we're more familiar with, but we're working really hard on it so that it'll be a lot more intuitive for like every player, because trying to adapt the D&D, like the 5th edition D&D style, like all of the actions and the action economy and like the actions, bonus actions, that whole system and like how everything interacts and stuff. I think they said that they really struggled with it, getting it to work like the way they wanted it to work for Baldur's Gate. And that it's also like, it's confusing for new players. It's so much to take on. And even if you go back and play Divinity, like I've been playing it with a friend who is extremely familiar with like D&D. And so she knew like, she took to Baldur's Gate very like easily because she already understood like the base system that it was working off of. But like it took an hour and we both were like fully fluent in how Divinity's system works. Like, it's just a lot more intuitive. So I'm really interested to see like what that system is going to be for the new Divinity game. But yeah, then aside from that, just Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, which is I
hilarious.
think honestly, I'm almost done. It's a really short story compared to the other games. And like the spin-off games, they can kind of be whatever length, but like the typical Yakuza game, just for comparison, I think the stories tend to be 13, 14, 15 chapters sometimes. And each of those chapters is, a good chunk of hours long. A lot of that's going to be cutscenes if you're only talking main story. I'm in chapter 5. I think it's either going to be the last one or chapter 6 is going to be the last one. Like I'm at the point of no return for the story. Oh, wow. So you go to like howlongtobeat.com, it says main story takes 17 hours. Like it's far and away the shortest main story of any Yakuza game.
That's like slightly longer than some shooters. Like some shooters are like hit the 12. Like Jesus.
Yeah. It's but again, it's like there's a lot of side content. Those games are always packed with like mini games. I will say that it is definitely a lot of the content is like copy paste from Infinite Wealth. The locations, a lot of them are the same. The characters, the interactions, the mini games stuff. A lot of it is just like straight port from Infinite Wealth. However, I don't know that like I don't know how much runway a story about Majima having amnesia and becoming a pirate for a little bit to like help some people search for treasure that they want to find has. Like that's a story that, I mean, it seems like it's going to be considered canon for the overall story. Like it's not some, dream sequence or whatever, like the Kiryu stuff with like the Yakuza Ishin games or like The Man Who Erased His Name, Dead Souls, the zombie game. Like those are non-canon, but they are definitely referenced in the other games. But this one is talking about events that happened in 8, and it's having characters, like main characters, do things 1 year after the story of 8. So like it seems like it has no reason to not be canon. So yeah, it's just when Yakuza 9 comes out, it's going to be this thing where like, Majima, what the fuck were you doing for like a year or 2 years? Oh, I spent a couple of weeks in, the islands around Hawaii, and I was being a pirate, and I helped some kids find some treasure, and I don't know, it was cool. I lost my memory for a while. Like,
I was gonna say that's why the story is short, so that he can't, like, Majima can't mess everything up for the main line. Minimal plot points.
yeah, it's a Majima game, so everyone will be happy, right? People just like Majima.
Yeah.
But largely that. I went back and I was doing a little bit of Megabonk again too. After I got a bunch of friends into it, because it's just a fun game. But it added, they had a new update. They had like a content update where they added a new map. They added some new characters and achievements and stuff like that. And there's definitely like some of the challenges to do in that game are like, you have to be pretty good at it, and you have to get really lucky to do some of them. So like, it's one of those things where I'm like, I could do it if I wanted to invest the time, but when it comes down to like RNG based stuff, you could get it your 10th attempt, you could get it your 1000th attempt, and I'm like, do I really want to put the time in? I don't necessarily know that I do. So yeah, but that being said, there's like the way the new map works is you like start in a catacomb and you kind of go through like these randomly selected rooms in a sequence of 3 of them, and then you escape, and then you're in this like graveyard map, and then you run around the graveyard map and you do your stuff, and then you go back into a different catacomb at the end of your time, go through like some rooms again, and then go to the boss room and then beat the boss. And there's challenges for every character, but then there's also challenges for that map specifically to get through that first catacomb in like a speed run time limit type thing. Like for this character, it's like, do it in 18 seconds. For this character, it's 20 because they're a little slower. For this character, it's 15 because they're kind of fast and that sort of thing. So not only do you have to you have to be really competent at the movement tech in that game, but you also need to get super lucky because the way that it picks from a pool of about 10 possible rooms, like room layouts, stitches 3 of them together, and you can either be going through it like, we'll say forwards or backwards. So if you can have each room to have 2 permutations, and there's 10 different rooms, it's 20 possible options for each of the 3. And the speedrun times are only possible if you get like 3 of the shortest rooms.
Oh.
So there's only so many permutations of the like ones that are possible, that it's even possible to get a time that fast. And for one of the characters, I did manage to like get one of those permutations and play really well to the point that I got out in like a really good time. But it's one of those things where like, it's like, okay, great, you did that challenge. Now do that again, get even luckier and play even better and get an even faster time. And I'm like, I'm just not going to do this. Like, this is the kind of thing that I could sit here and I could grind for hours and hours and hours to try to do it and get it. But I'm just not going to do it. I have other stuff I want to do with my time. So like,
and you could mess it up. You could get the 3 in a row that you need or whatever.
That's what I mean. Yep.
And then you could like just,
you could play wrong.
Skill issue. Yeah.
Yeah. Unironically, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of the more casual, gameplay of the game, it's very fun. Yeah. I put a lot of hours very quickly into Megabonk after I was like made aware of its existence, and anyone that I have like introduced to it has also gotten completely sucked in. So it's a good time.
Hell yeah.
Matt,
me?
what are you playing?
Well, I already mentioned that I completed the campaign for Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Mention it again.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Do it.
It was good until the end. Like, it felt like it was padded out a lot by side stuff, and the side stuff gave your hawk your like little, I don't even know what the heck it is, like a side. It reminds me of like Tom Clancy's Hawks, like with an X, of course. So it's like those, they have like spacecraft that are kind of like that, and so you're like flying these like freaking weird like space jets. So you do like for the majority of the side content, you're doing that to like get levels up for that. And I did all of the side stuff, and then the game just kind of like ends. And it's sort of like, oh, okay. I feel as though they thought that we cared about the characters a lot more than I did, because there's this really kind of like sad thing where it's almost like the classic like press F to pay respects, where the the credits are going, and then there's 6 characters' faces on the screen, and it's 6 people who have died, and their little avatars are in black and white, and they each have a button of the controller, like X and whatever, X, A, B, all this. And if you like press A, for example, it'll like play that character's final message that gets sent to their parents because they were in like the Space Navy, or Space Air Force, or whatever the heck it was. And some of them I'm just like, man, that guy, all we ever did was tell him to like use the ship, like, okay, like jump to these coordinates. All right, great, thanks. And like, that's our relationship. I care about his wife and kids. Like, that sounds mean, but like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, thanks for driving the ship. Double thumbs up. Let's move on with our lives. That game definitely tried world building too, because it's like the Retribution, which is your ship, is like your hub. You can go and look at like a list of the Mars army that you can kill, like VIPs, if you do the side quests, or you can find them in main missions sometimes, and things. But the missions are actually good. Like, it is a fun game. It's just I feel like I padded it out a little bit too much. But it was fun. It was a fun one. Like, if you're into COD campaigns, I think it's definitely worth a play. It definitely just plays like like an Infinity War game of that time. So if you don't like that era, then you're not gonna like this game. But it was good. I think it's worth a play. Just maybe you don't have to do all the side stuff. Let's just say that. They even had like I remember at the end of each mission, or any like substantial mission, you could like not go toward the bridge. You could go down this like kind of like alleyway in your ship, and you could go and watch the news, and then the news would be like, the Mars forces today were attacked by Earth's blah 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 blah, and you could sit there, and then all the soldiers around be like, yeah, we fucking kicked their asses, and like all these and it's like, okay, world building, on to the next, like let's move on here. So that that was that. I'd say like a 7 out of 10 if I were to give it a rating approximately. But other than that, I already beat my first game of 2026. I beat Power Washer Simulator 2 and also platinumed it now. Yeah, platinum that game. That game is off the list. And then I started playing, because it was free, Outlast Trials. And that game is fucking weird. It's like a multiplayer horror game, and it's like, I'm not scared, and there's all these like creeps trying to like grab at you, and like you're trying to like sneak around. But in Outlast, you're like alone, and it's like kind of scary. And there's an intro segment where you have to do it solo, and it's the tutorial, and that feels like Outlast, and you're kind of like, oh fuck, like am I gonna get attacked here? But when there's 3 of us in the room, people are screaming, it's kind of getting goofy and stuff, and it just becomes like this. I think what did we describe it as yesterday, Ryan? It's like it's a survival game, multiplayer survival game, but it's gross.
Like, I just don't like the look of it. It just grosses me out. Yeah,
it's grotesque. Like, because you're like a prisoner in like a psych ward, and you're like giving these trials. And literally, the thing that is like the games as a service in this game is when you spawn, you're given a cell, and your cell is customizable. And so like I made mine look like a shitty prison cell. Like, I took the paint off the walls, and I just have this like shitty prison cell. But we're walking around, and I was like, hang on. And this one guy had like a full neon sign that was like Santo's Workshop. And I went in there, and it was all this Christmas stuff. He was all decked out, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, you're a prisoner in this like prison program for creeps or something. I don't even know what the hell it is. And it's very bizarre game. So I did a little bit of that. And then actually, Tim, you gifted this to me for my birthday last year. I started playing Enshrouded, actually.
Oh, yeah, it's had an update since I last played it. I need to go back and play that again.
It's a fucking lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a good game.
It's a lot, and what I like about it is it feels more like we're playing like a multiplayer Skyrim than it does like a Minecraft. Like, the building's there, and you need to build, you need to build and stuff and do whatever. But it feels more like, hey guys, let's go do a quest, and everybody has the same quest. It's a quest log. And you do quests, and you're like unlocking the map and stuff and whatever. And so it's not Skyrim, to be clear, but it feels like, I'm playing an RPG that's like an open world RPG, action RPG, but it's just multiplayer. But I can do a bit of Minecraft stuff if I care to. But I haven't moved my base from the starter location. I just, keep building onto it, because you can fast travel around, and I'm not going out just looking for like oil or whatever. there are some ores that you need to look for, but they're very progressive. Like in terms of like, I'm starting to need copper. Oh, my next quest brought me to a copper mine. Like it's very like, and then you mine a bit and it's like, I now have enough copper. You don't have to be like, all right, let's get the logistics and like get the strip mining and everybody, everybody we need copper and diamond and crap. I haven't reached that point if that ever happens in the game. So it's really nice. It's a really good one. But I want to say that's been it, actually. I guess I played one round of Paperboy for the first time in my life. I bought my girlfriend like a Game Boy Advance SP like Android device, and it came with Paperboy preloaded, and she's like, I love this game. And I was like, sure. Like I've never played it. I don't know what the hell it is. And she's apparently been playing it for hours, so I played one round of it to get the feel, and I lost all my subscribers, and that was it.
Isn't that like a nightmare game? Isn't that like a horribly hard to play game?
It's old. Yeah, it's one of those games. It's from the era in which games don't give a fuck. Like they're 15-minute games, but it's more like a 40-hour game because you're going to suck for 30 hours, and then you're going to kind of suck for the rest.
A quarter eater.
Yeah,
it's designed basically. Quarters. Yeah.
Was that it for you, Matt?
That's it. That's it.
I had quite a bit going on gaming wise over the holidays. I got a Switch 2 for Christmas, so that was the big one, which is wild if anyone knows me that I'm not the biggest Nintendo guy. I always buy Nintendo consoles and then like play them for like a total of like 10 hours over the course of their life. But I have a Switch 2 now. The first game I played on my Switch 2 was 2013's Tomb Raider reboot, which has a native Switch 2 port, which is kind of interesting. They're doing it.
That's pretty weird. Pretty bizarre first game, to be honest.
Controversially, I did buy the upgrades for Switch 2 versions of Pokemon Legends ZA and for Breath of the Wild. So I have Switch 2 versions of those games. I have not played those.
What?
Yeah. I also bought Star Wars Outlaws for Switch 2. And I played a buttload of Star Wars Outlaws over the holidays, not on my Switch 2.
I was going to say, because you told me you didn't have the DLC, so you could, like, with Ubisoft Connect, you can connect the saves, but you can't get the DLCs on the Switch 2 unless you pay again.
This is what Shawn Layden was talking about.
No, it's crazy. No one's buying the Switch 2 version, too.
On PlayStation with the DLC, with my save, I can't play that game on my Switch because I don't have the DLC on my Switch version.
Nintendo needs their 30%.
To be clear, I can play the game, but it takes away like any items I get from the DLC, or I can't do those quests if I started them. So I'm going to have like a weird mismatch if I actually sync my saves. And so I just quit out of that, and I was like, I don't even want to mess with that. If I lose my save now, it's over. I've been trying to finish this goddamn game for like a year and a half. But I did play it a ton on my PS5, and it's an awesome game. And I'm so sad there won't be a sequel. And I am doing all the side quests right now and running around and upgrading my stuff and changing my allegiances and all this sorts of stuff before I'm on the very last mission. So I could finish this weekend.
Yeah, and maybe I'll do no return, right?
I gotta. Yeah, I should do it and just so I can move on to the rest of my backlog. I also was there, or I got the platinum for Power Wash Simulator 2. That last one was a pain in the butt because I did that map 3 times, Matt.
Well, we did it. First shot there. Got that trophy.
And that's about it, I guess. That's it. Yeah, there you go. All right. Tim.
What?
Where can they find you?
Normally, twitch.tv/The Sidetrack, where we are always focusing on the main objective and never getting distracted.
What?
Been doing some, like I said, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Probably gonna do a little bit more of it on stream. I'll probably just finish up the main story. Not gonna do all the side stuff. I feel like I might need to save some of that for not save it, but I'm gonna be doing it on just in my own time. Because a lot of it's just sort of kind of tedious stuff, but I want to get the achievements done and things. But I mean, hey, in like less than a month, the Kiwami 3 is coming out. The next Yakuza remake of Kiwami 3, so I'm definitely going to play through all that, because I did try and play Yakuza 3 when it got its like port re-released to the PS4, and I just didn't really stick with it, because I'd played Kiwami 1, played Kiwami 2, started playing through 3, played it for a couple hours, and I was like, it's pretty dated, and it's hard to go. Like, I've been doing a lot of Yakuza recently, so it's hard to stick with it. I was falling off pretty hard. I was burning out a little bit, so it'll be a great excuse to finally actually play through and beat 3. And I'm excited for basically just doing the Kiryu as a dad simulator at the orphanage and just doing all the like mundane tasks at the orphanage and catching bugs with the kids and having water gun fights with them on the beach and cooking them food and stuff. It's a weird dad simulator, but it's gonna be funny. What else is gonna? Oh, I was also I was thinking about going back to Classic WoW for the first time in like a year because funnily enough, they're updating a number of the classic servers to be the Burning Crusade Classic again. They're like moving things forward with the expansions. Not to do a hardcore playthrough again, but to do kind of like a lore through. Because I watch a lot of I watch one YouTube channel. It's done a number of videos on like a lot of the stories in the game, like specifically with like quest lines or certain characters or things that are sort of more implied and Easter eggy and that kind of thing. That I realized I just never really paid attention to. Like when I was younger and as a kid, I didn't really know how to play an MMO, and I was just sort of like spending a lot of my time running around and exploring the world itself more than I was like doing quests and leveling. And then with hardcore, of course, the point was kind of to get just to 60 as fast as you could so that you without dying, right? But I was thinking about playing it again, really taking my time, reading like all the quest dialogue. If we ever get like notes or books as like items to loot, like reading them, getting really immersed into the world and the lore and stuff, because everything that I see that this person who runs this channel goes over is like really fascinating stuff, and it really gives me an appreciation for like how much effort they put into a lot of like little details that the vast majority of players would probably miss when they're playing through and just trying to level their character. Or if you're the kind of MMO player where you're just kind of bouncing from exclamation mark to exclamation mark, just trying to like do quests quickly, turn them in, and focusing more on the actual game than maybe the story. Seems pretty fascinating to me, and I've always been a big fan of old Warcraft lore, not so much like not really keeping up with the current stuff, but anything kind of Wrath of Lich King and before seems really fascinating to me. So bit of a slow burn project, but something that I'm kind of looking at getting back into as well.
That'd be kind of cool. A different way to handle an RPG or an MMORPG, I guess.
Yeah, because I'm not in any like I've done it, right. You know, I've gotten to the max level number of times. So like, what's the next thing to try to do? You know, so it'll be interesting.
You've done your time, basically.
Not as much as other people, but I have done my time, yeah.
And then I guess we, what did we stream? Did we stream anything?
World War Z?
What?
World War Z, yeah.
Come on now.
Sorry.
Good stuff, stuff.
That's a damn good game, though.
Ugh, so good.
Walking Dead DLC coming in hot.
Looking forward to playing it again, if my internet's working. The Walking Dead DLC is kind of weird, right? Because it's like Walking Dead isn't really crazy popular anymore, unless it's just not in the zeitgeist anymore, but maybe people are still watching it like crazy.
There's a lot of series
spin-offs and stuff, right?
Like Walking Dead Dead City I think is over, but now there's Walking Dead Daryl Dixon.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so we'll see you guys next time.
Hey yo, peace.